to another Fight in the Night review. This was for the one that took place last night. It was the main event at the UFC Apex Center, my favourite place for the UFC to have their fight cards, and it was the main event between Mackenzie Dern and Angela Hill. So as always, I'm going to go through it round by round, and this might not take that long actually, but I don't know, we'll see when I actually start talking about the fight. So we begin with round one, and Mackenzie Dern starts firing out the gate. She starts laying some really good boxing combos on Angela, really countering her well. I think Angela has the longer reach, but Mackenzie is just a bit more aggressive. And yeah, she starts like really battering the crap out of Angela quite early on, and eventually gets a takedown. Well, she knocks her down with a big right hand, and smothers her and tries to get a submission. And throughout the rest of round one, it's pretty much Mackenzie Dern on top of Angela, attacking with a lot of submissions. She goes for a rear naked choke, she goes for an arm triangle, she goes for an armbar a couple of times, and Angela used some really intelligent defense techniques to escape, and she managed to basically survive until the end of round one. She didn't really land a lot in round one. It's pretty much entirely Mackenzie's. It wasn't a very competitive round. Mackenzie just started out landing Angela really early, hit with some big stuff, big shots, hit with a really big one to knock her down, went for some submission attempts. Although props to Angela for managing to hold out as well as she did, not just under the damage but under the submissions as well. I will give credit for her heart for that, but yeah, round one, definitely easily in favour of Mackenzie. Not really a lot to talk about. Round two is a little bit more even. Angela just started using her Muay Thai background a little bit more effectively in round two, and she's the one to actually instigate the clinch this time, and she actually gets Mackenzie against the cage and mostly just holds her there. She starts attacking the back with some really good knee strikes, like the back of Mackenzie's legs, and just smothers her essentially against the cage. I think there is a takedown near the end of round two. I think it's initiated by Mackenzie with a judo trip of sorts, but I think Angela is able to roll through it, and there's not really a lot of room left for submissions. I believe it ends standing on the feet. I can't really remember a whole lot of round two, but I think it's the early round of the fight that Angela really wins, because wrestling was really good. She just clinched Mackenzie against the cage for about 4.5 minutes. There wasn't really a lot of stand-up action in this one that I can remember. It was just a lot of back clinching against the cage. I'm trying to remember more, I really can't. But yeah, round two, I'm giving it to Angela. Round three, Angela does start coming out firing. She does land maybe one or two shots, but Mackenzie is using her head movement quite well, able to evade it. Starts laying some really good shots on Angela. And I don't really remember a whole lot of round three. I believe that this is the round when Mackenzie lands a particularly nasty looking knee, following a good punching combo. She lands a really good upwards knee that stuns Angela, sort of wobbles her back a bit, and then Mackenzie pounces on her, and I think she gets a takedown on her as well. Angela does try and counter with some of her arm wrestling, but I think Mackenzie is just a bit stronger and a bit more aggressive in round three, and starts going for more ground and pound in round three. From what I remember, she's actually trying to get the fight finished via strikes, but Angela, even though she's covering up quite well, she's covering up a bit too much, and the referee, Jason Herzog, does a really good job in this match, credit to him, doesn't stop the fight there, and Angela manages to roll out and escape any further damage, and it does end on the feet from what I remember. I think the last maybe 30 seconds was a really good striking exchange. I think it was this or round four, I don't know. But yeah, Mackenzie, again, I don't know, looking pretty dominant throughout round three, so I'm giving it very much to her. I don't think there was a lot of area where she looked lost. I think Angela landed maybe one or two strikes. But yeah, Mackenzie just looked a bit stronger, so I'm giving round three to Mackenzie. We then get to round four, and I can't remember a bloody thing about round four. I think Mackenzie went for a judo trip early. I think she had a lot of ground control over Angela, because she had a lot of it in rounds 3 and 1. I think she had a lot of ground control on her as well. I think she went for some strikes. I believe she went for another armbar, but again, Angela was able to hold out and didn't really cave. I think near the end of the round there was some really solid exchanges between the two, but Mackenzie again looks a little bit better coming out of it. I believe there was an accidental clash of heads, and there was a very close in the pocket fighting sequence when Mackenzie did throw some really good shots and threw a spinning back elbow that did clip Angela's temple, but she was able to push through it and push Mackenzie against the cage. I can't remember if it was this round or 3 or 5. I can't remember a whole lot about this fight, to be honest, and I watched it earlier today, so I don't know. But round 4, you know what, I think it goes to Mackenzie. I think her initiating the wrestling was a smart idea, and her striking was a bit more dynamic, and I think she was just a bit more ready with her attacks, especially with her submissions. But again, props to Angela for holding out. But yeah, round 4, leaning more towards Mackenzie's favour. We then get to the 5th and final round, and I can't remember a bloody thing about it. I think it was just very much. It felt, very much like a squash match for the most part. And Mackenzie easily wins round 5. I think she did some really good striking. I think Angela actually came out firing again at the start of round 5, even though her left eye was swelling really, really badly. She did try and stay in the pocket with Mackenzie, but it really wasn't worth it. Mackenzie was just outclassing her, landing some big shots. Not stunning Angela as much as she did in rounds 1 or 3, but she was backing her up pretty well, I would say. Just doing really effective counters. I believe she got into the hip toss style thing, and I think she attacked with more submissions and more ground and pound, but again, Angela held herself quite well, kept composed, did not break under the pressure. I think she was able to escape near the end of the round, but she wasn't really in a position to do a whole lot. I think Mackenzie ended it pretty dominantly with some amazing ground control. Round 5 goes to Mackenzie. So now we have to talk about the fight, and I'm sorry I haven't really talked about it well. So all in all, this fight is not going in my top 10. I felt like I've seen my fair share of one-sided fight of the nights, especially this year, but this has to be one of the worst examples. I mean, Angela Hill, I will give credit to Angela Hill's heart, right? She was able to stay in there, even though she was getting the absolute piss battered out of her, and she was on the bad end of so many submissions, which she intelligently defended. And Mackenzie just won rounds 1, 3, 4, and 5. I mean, I even have the score thing here thanks to Wikipedia. It was 49-43, 49-44, and 49-44. Those are really bloody low scores. And Angela, I appreciate her heart, but she's not a great fighter. I mean, she can put on an exciting fight, but I don't think it's worth it if she loses. And this fight also wasn't very competitive. It was very dominant and very one-sided, and felt a bit grim at times to watch. There wasn't any blood in the fight, and I think the most significant bit of damage that either of them had was Angela's left eye swelling shut. Her nose was a little bit broken as well. I think Mackenzie had some bruising around her face, but I know it wasn't an overly gruesome fight from a visual standpoint, but just seeing how outclassed Angela was, which was impressive considering that she's almost a decade older than Mackenzie and has about twice as many fights. Experience didn't really help in this case. Mackenzie easily gets the win. I have absolutely no disagreement with that decision. And this one is not going to be in my top 10 of the year because it was not great. And I'm going to check ahead of time because I think next week doesn't have one. I'm correct. Next week does not have a fight of the night because it's a week off, but the week afterwards does. So, that'll about really do it for the review. Don't really have a lot to say. I'll see you all tonight. Tonight, actually, because there's going to be the 2K23 draft, and I promised that on Friday, but due to circumstances out of my control, a lot of weird shit happening, it's going to be happening tonight instead. Be aware, it's going to be very, very fucking scuffed, and you're going to see what I mean when I start explaining it by the time. So, that'll do it. The next video thing you'll see me for will likely be an episode of Music of the Week. That's really all I can think of to say. Go watch this fight, I guess. It's a fairly entertaining squash match, but it's one of those things where I can't even say meh. I legit can't come up with anything to say about it because I can't remember anything about it, but I think I liked some of it, so I don't know, maybe I'll give it a watch for that. Hopefully I'll see you all tonight for the draft. That'll do. As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.